Great. So thank you everybody for joining us. My portion of this will be Virtual Distancing Protection Index, the one number that could make or break your business. And first, I'd like to go into a little bit about Renascence IT very quickly. We were formed in 2010. I've been doing IT for a little over 25 years, and I like to call ourselves a next generation managed service provider. Essentially, we do everything that other IT companies do, break fix, look at backups, things along those lines. But what we also do through our processes is evaluate how to reduce risk, increase productivity, lower costs for our businesses. And as such, we have been having talks with our clients for the last couple of years about remote work. And as a result, when this big lockdown occurred, we were able to get all of our clients ready in about under a day. And as such now, we're being a resource for other businesses and able to conduct webinars like these to further educate other companies as well. So the term that I'll be using quite a bit in this is virtual distancing. And essentially, this is having as many layers of protection between your home computer and your corporate network and services. Many companies were set up rather quickly, were surprised by having to do remote work very fast, and as a result, their IT staff or providers had to do things quickly as opposed to safely. And so part of this webinar today will be going over the methods that are being used and making sure that you are covered for against cyber attacks. First, some stats, because everyone likes some statistics to scare them. First off, hackers are attacking every 39 seconds on a small business, or average about 2,244 times a day. There's an attempted 300 million sign-in attempts to Microsoft Cloud services every day. 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses, and a small business is under 200 employees. 98% of cyber attacks rely on social engineering. These take the form of phishing emails, phone calls, texts. They've gotten very efficient. They've gotten very detailed to this point. On average, it takes a company about 5 months to see if there's been a data breach within their network or with services that they provide for others. And in 2019, it was estimated that the cost of a ransomware attack on a business is about $133,000. Cybercrime is the greatest threat to every company in the world, and that is definitely gained traction in this day and age. Just for example, there was a 350% increase in malicious websites created since January of this year, and Google alone has found over 500,000 malicious websites out there, and those are the ones that are just detected. So what's at stake with people working remotely? By having remote and mobile infrastructures, it increases the number of places that cyber criminals can attack at, more vectors. Critical data is now accessed remotely. People have data stored on their home computers, on personal laptops, on work computers that are at home that may not have the tools necessary to see what is on there and what is being protected. There's new threat vectors, there's phone scams. People may be getting phone calls supposedly from Comcast, from Microsoft, that they need access to something or they detected a virus and trying to gain credential access that way. So these have increased, according to Gartner, by 60% just since March. Critical support systems such as IT may be remote or unavailable to respond to a cyber attack. Many companies are built with having on-site staff, and so this is a new concept for them. Also, backups and restoration operations may be unavailable or can become compromised. There are new attacks, and I will go into it further, that will actually ransomware backups. And as we know through Zoom and other types of services, video and voice can be infiltrated by unauthorized parties without detection or without proper detection. So what I'm going to look at is the 3 prongs for what we call virtual distancing protection index. And it breaks down to awareness, protection, and continuity. And with these 3 metrics or these 3 prongs, it will help companies be protected more from cyber attacks. And I'll break these down in the next slides. For awareness, employee training. This is crucial because the vast majority of cyber attacks happen because of a socially engineered attack. This can be phishing, where someone receives an email with a link to enter their credentials or click on a link to download an attachment. Some of the biggest ones are with the coronavirus of being able to display data on your computer of latest numbers, but it requires you to download an application, and that opens up an attack on your system. So being able to educate your workforce on different cyber threats, being able to tell them what can happen is a huge part of this. And we are going to be breaking these down into a point structure. So this one is worth about 10 points. For my businesses, I've sent out an email sheet of red flags to look for when an email comes in to see if it's a potential phishing attack. And I can provide those for people here on the webinar and for other people who may be listening in later. If these credentials do get hacked, they get sold on the dark web for between $1 to $6 each. So other awareness is phishing tests. And for several different cyber liability policies, this is essential of setting up fake phishing tests to send to employees to see who falls for them, who opens up links, who downloads attachments. And from there can have additional training for those employees. I do have a few clients that make this an HR issue, that if they fail a phishing test over the course of several months, then it becomes a higher alert level that employee may become susceptible to taking down the entire company. Dark web scans. We do this for our clients to see if their credentials are been breached, and from there can then make sure that those employees have their credentials changed immediately, because the problem is many employees use the same credential, password, and email logins for things like banking sites, financial sites, sensitive information, and a cyber criminal just loves to have easy access to everything from one set of credentials. So this helps in determining if someone potentially got breached and try to prevent damage from happening after that attack. So now we're going to move on to the protection side. And these are some things that need to happen on personal or remote laptops, desktops, to harden protection against cyber criminals. So the first one is worth 5 points, and this is antivirus. We've heard about it. It's been used since the early 90s. Essentially, if it sees something come in that an employee is trying to execute or download, it attempts to block it. And unfortunately, antivirus, many people use an antivirus that is legacy, I like to call it. Things like McAfee, Norton, Symantec, they use something called a signature download. So they will send out instructions to the antivirus on blocking things, but these are always after the fact and sometimes can lag between 1 to 3 days after attacks have already occurred. There are next generation antivirus products that are out there that will be a little bit more artificial intelligence, machine adaptive types. So those are the ones that we recommend. The next one is filtering. There are services out there that can be installed on laptops that will detect if someone's machine is trying to go to a malicious IP address. Eastern Europeans addresses usually. What usually this means is someone has downloaded something like a ransomware product that was not detected by antivirus software, and then as a result is trying to quote unquote dial home to get the encryption command. So filtering software helps with that. It also can block websites for employees to go to, whether it's a malicious website or something that they should not be going to during work hours. These are the types of products that are there. VPN SSL. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer. Both of these, if you are logging into a corporate network, it encrypts the data that goes from your home to the corporate network. It's highly recommended to set things up that way because once you're in the corporate network, you then can access services and servers that are on site there. Many times IT companies just set up a hole that goes directly into the corporate network. And as a result, cyber criminals will be scanning for those holes and will have easier access to those resources. Also, if you're using websites, make sure that in your browser bar, if you're going to a place that offers a service for your company, that it has a locked symbol to the left of it. It means it's a secure SSL layer protection that is encrypting your data and transfers. If not, then you need to talk to that provider. Next is updates and patches. For Windows, for Macs, there are updates that happen when there are known vulnerabilities that come out. Newer operating systems have hardened types of protection as well over previous operating systems. Windows 7 no longer has updates being delivered to it as of January. So this is one of the simplest things that can be done, and for many people it doesn't get done. This will block some of the easiest attacks that can occur. So please make sure that you're updating and patching your systems, whether it's your own or through your technology provider. And finally, multi-factor authentication. The biggest thing I hear is it's a nuisance that you have to input a number when you log into your email. What I always like to return with, it's a bigger nuisance if you get ransomwared. So for those that are not familiar with this, it is having a second type of login when you're accessing a service or your email. So things along the lines of a code that's sent to your phone. You have to input it in along with your password to gain access to your email. So that allows two types of protection. One is to make sure it's really you. And secondly, if you suddenly receive a code on your phone and you haven't logged into email, you know that your credentials may have been taken. So this offers additional layers of protection. The third part is continuity. First one is RTO, or return time to operation. This is a discussion you need to have with your technology provider or IT person. It's having the expectations set with your technology of how soon do you need to be back in operation. Many companies are unaware that if they go down, it may be several weeks before they get data back or they get servers back, and they need to be up in 15 minutes. So if you have not had that discussion, do so, because that is probably the most important discussion on continuity to have with your provider. After that is backup and data recovery. Do you have backups in place? Are they both on-site and off-site? And if they are off-site, are they in different geographical locations? Because sometimes these places can be also targeted, and if it takes down your off-site backup in one location, it may not, and that's the only location that you have, then you're going to be going down a dark road there. So please make sure that you have both on-site and off-site backups, and that is geographically located in multiple locations. Next is ransomware protection. Newer attacks now are targeting on-site backups and off-site backups. And so newer methods of backups will see if multiple file names are being changed at once. If it starts seeing 50 to 100 files being changed, it will automatically lock down and prevent any changes to the backups. So this is an essential part of this. We had a client that had on-site and off-site backups. They didn't use the backups that we suggested, and as a result, they got encrypted in multiple locations and had to pay for ransomware remediation as a result. The final part is cyber liability insurance. Many people think, well, this is just if we get hacked. This will help you recover costs for ransomware if you have to go through backups and restorations. It'll also provide for labor, both for lost productivity of your employees and for reaching out to IT services to have them do whatever is needed to get you back up and running. They will negotiate with other parties to potentially reduce Bitcoin costs. Not that I support paying ransomware individuals, but if that's the only route that you have available, they can assist with that. Cyber liability policies, please make sure that you talk to your insurance provider. If it's an attachment or a rider to a current policy, it may limit what types of remediation you are afforded or what the limits of a breach are. So please make sure that you have those discussions beforehand. So after going through that list and associating the numbers with what you currently have, let's look at what your virtual distancing protection index is. So if you scored 50 or under, you are definitely in danger of being attacked. There's no doubt about it that there needs to be some serious changes in your organization to protect you. If you scored 51 to 79, you're slightly better, but there are still definitely vectors of attack that you need to look at and discuss with your technology provider or IT people. 80 to 90, you're definitely better than most companies, but there are still cracks that can be used and utilized by malicious forces. And 91 to 100, very good. You've pretty much gotten everything cracked down, but you can still be attacked. So there are always new ways of attacking. There's always new ransomware that is out there. So staying vigilant, having talks with your technology providers, your IT people on what the new attacks are a key to making sure that your company is safe. And just to let you know, by 2022, there will be ratings that will be as important as credit ratings when assessing business relationships, both from insurance and other types of providers, even financing. So now is the time to take a look at what needs to be done to make your company more secure, especially with virtual distancing. So just as a wrap up, we are a resource. We can look at everything that I discussed before, and more than happy just to give you the thumbs up if everything looks good for your company or if you need recommendations. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, you can find me at kirk@renitconsulting.com or on our website at www.renitconsulting.com. And with that, I'm going to stop my share so Rose can begin hers.
Well, good morning to everyone. My name is Rose Bermudez, and like Kirk just mentioned, I am your New York Life agent. And I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. I'll go ahead and start. So the topic for our meeting today does say update and review. But the real topic is about all of you as individuals and business owners, really. Everyone has built a financial plan that they believe will help them achieve their financial goals. And changes to their circumstances requires prudent people to reevaluate their plan, right? Sometimes the circumstances are personal, like a different job, family changes, health changes, or a move could impact this plan. And at those times, an individual will review their plan and adjust as necessary. Other times, the changes are more global. Changing interest rates, economic recession, stock market volatility, or even tax law changes could also impact that plan. Those changes impact most people, and so almost everyone at that time will review their plan and adjust as necessary. Right now, we are in a time where multiple global changes are impacting almost everyone. And in times like these, prudence dictates everyone review their plan. Reviewing your plan will provide, at minimum, peace of mind that everyone is as you want it to best help you move forward. I'm sorry. We may also identify areas you might want to make changes to, and I will help do whatever I can. So I'd like to start by talking about the current landscape and how it might impact you. There are several areas that affect many people, and I want to start talking about these areas. Then, I would like to talk about some things that are happening at New York Life that might interest you. And finally, I'd like to spend the balance of our time talking about whatever else is important to you, especially in light of any changes that might have taken place. So, these are definitely a time of tremendous change for all of us. There's the coronavirus, COVID-19, which is threatening our health, has changed our social and work habits, and even for some, threatened their income. Financial markets are being affected as well. So interest rates are near zero. The market is showing extreme volatility. Major industries have virtually shut down. And for those nearing or in retirement, there's been a major reset. See, drop in market values may cause some to defer the retirement date, and others in retirement may have to reevaluate their income level. And we'll talk about these things in detail. Now, there's one thing that we do know, and that is that change is constant. And while most of us have not been through anything close to what we are experiencing now, like this pandemic, the market volatility, low interest environment, and potential recession, New York Life actually has. Since 1845, New York Life has helped their policyholders get through rough times. We've actually been through wars, depressions, recessions, and epidemics, and yet New York Life has remained strong, and that very strength has provided stability and peace of mind to millions, and this will be no exception. Now, because we have been through many times like these, we are actually saddened, of course, by the impact on our policyholders, but we are not surprised. We actually prepare for times like these so everyone can be protected. As a company, we stand on 4 timeless truths, and it's made us the company that we are today. First, we build and offer products that offer the protection and guarantees that offer you financial peace of mind. Second, New York Life invests in its agents like myself, and we're trained to help people like you make those very important personal decisions. And in these times especially, having someone to talk with can actually help bring some clarity. Third, we stress test our portfolio to make sure we can keep our promises even in the most difficult financial markets. And then finally, as a mutual company, every aspect of our business in a way that puts the interest of policy owners first. Unlike stock insurance companies, we plan for the next quarter century, not the next quarter. So no matter what company you do business with, you want to make sure that they can actually keep their promises. So let's start with some issues that are currently top of mind to most of our clients and follow with discussions of other areas that are top of mind for many. These five issues here in particular have been impacting most of our clients, and they could all have an impact on your financial strategy as well. I'd like to review them with you all to see if any of these are concerns of yours. In each area, I have some questions that can be used for discussion. So COVID-19, right, it's disrupted our health and has threatened in ways we have never seen. Employment, like I discussed earlier, some of us might have lost our jobs or even seen pay reductions. Interest rates, these rates have been systematically dropping for the past 30 years or so, and recently have stayed at historically low levels. Now, however, they are likely rising. As far as taxes go, sorry, taxes are changing actually, and change happens on a regular basis in this area. Over the last 40 years, we have had 12 changes to income tax brackets and rates. That means every 4 or so years, we will see change. As far as retirement goes, planning for retirement income is different exercise than accumulating assets for retirement. And in this environment of a volatile stock market and very low interest rates, do you have the right tools and strategies in place? Those are some of the topics we'll cover. Now, personally, has COVID-19, have you had to deal with any personal exposures to the virus? These are the kinds of questions that we're actually having with our clients today. You know, are you having these conversations with your financial person, right? Has the shutdown impacted your work? Has your income been impacted? Have you had to make any other major changes that you might need to realign your goals with? Now, let's begin with interest rates, and I'm going to spend some time on this slide actually. So as I mentioned, and you can see on this chart, interest rates have been basically falling for the past 30 years. Over the past several years, rates have remained historically low, but the Federal Reserve has recently raised rates, and many think that those rates will go higher. A pattern of higher interest rates represents an environment we haven't seen in over 30 years, and many people have not personally experienced this. So a new environment can be challenging. Now, as far as those challenges, let's say if the interest rates were to stay low, what does that mean exactly for us? So it'd be harder to accumulate retirement savings. Okay, so the lower interest rate that can be anticipated during retirement, the more money must be accumulated in order to provide that desired income. So for example, if we took an annual income of 100,000 without consideration to fees, taxes, and any other factors, and assuming the principal does not lose value, assuming I'm living off of interest only, requires having a principal balance of 2 million if rates are at 5%, 2.5 million if rates are at 4%, and 3.3 million if rates are at 3%. Okay. Now, it can also produce a difficulty to generate sufficient retirement income. So along the same lines as number one, retirees often count on relatively stable investments with fixed returns during their retirement years when they cannot afford to take more risk. So this makes it very difficult to generate sufficient income to maintain a standard of living, and evading principal in order to make up the shortfall in the running out of monies, especially in this age where people are living longer and retirement can last 25 years. Now, another downfall to lower interest rates would be, so cash could actually lose purchase power due to inflation. So this is a longer term trend. With interest rates being extremely low, this makes it easier for more and more people to borrow money. As more and more people borrow money, consumers have more money to spend, flooding the markets with cash, which causes the economy to grow and inflation to increase. Now, on the other hand, if interest rates rise, now this is going to make the cost of borrowing to increase. So rising interest rates will make it more expensive to obtain a variety of variable rate loans, which includes most credit cards and student loans. There's also a reduced confidence of investors. So a rise in interest rates can potentially make businesses and individual consumers less willing to take out risky investments and purchases. So brings me to these three questions. So what concerns you most about today's interest rate environment? If you're not thinking about it, looking at the ups and downs of having a higher or lower interest rate, what does that mean exactly for you, right? So how has the low interest rates impacted you at this time? Or where do you think you will feel the biggest impact if interest rates rise? Accounting for these things are important when it comes to your financial plan. Now, in this chart, we'll talk about taxes. So if you initially look at it, you can see kind of the trend of how the tax rate has changed in the past 87 years. So when you look at it, what conclusions do you draw from it? See, so tax planning is not really trying to predict future tax rates, but rather designing strategies that will minimize current taxation, provide tax diversification in order to maximize future flexibility, provide tax efficiency, and the potential to even control your tax bracket later on. Now, these are important things for individuals as well as business owners. Now, here's the challenge. So I know the income tax rules today, but we actually need to plan for the next 40 years. So making these strategies, that makes these strategies imperative to everyone's overall financial plan. Now, questions, again, that you can either ask yourself or the financial professional that you're working with, do most of your income tax concerns come from earned income or unearned income? So you should be able to answer these key questions. Now, of your own assets, are you heaviest in value that has already been taxed or value that has not yet been taxed? What strategies do you have for a rising income tax rate environment? These are all questions, again, that I can also help on a one-on-one with anyone, individual and business owners alike. Now, as far as the payout or the government stimulus, the $2 trillion that was given out, eventually that will have to be paid back, and we can guess that it will come from taxes. So, some additional questions to ask yourself when preparing for retirement would be, how much of your income would you like to be guaranteed? Do you have any sources of income that are guaranteed, that you will not run out of money? Do you have a pool of safe money or a volatility buffer, aka a buffer asset that can be drawn upon for discretionary spending in years the market is volatile? So life insurance is designed to meet legacy goals. Has anyone taken you through a process to calculate down to the dollar how much coverage you actually need to accomplish your goals? As far as extended care, these are events that do happen if you haven't experienced them yourself. Maybe you've had a loved one who you've had to help. Now there's extended care insurance to protect your assets in the event of incapacity. So thoughtful planning that starts with foundational security and fundamental strategies to get you where you want to be. It's important. So I'm glad to be able to tell you that New York Life performed very well in these inconsistent times. With all this uncertainty, we've maintained the highest ratings available from the financial rating agencies. We've maintained our strength for 175 years, and while we believe in staying ahead of the curve, it's our commitment to timeless principles like financial strength, integrity, and humanity that have helped us remain strong over the long haul. How have we remained so strong? We focus on the long term and not the short term. And finally, I'd like to talk or bring up rather to some discussion points that pertain specifically to you. So what changes are happening in your role that concern you the most? Have you refinanced your home, bought a new home, had additional kids, kids in the family, right? So those are all topics that need to be updated with your financial professional, and then reviewing actually any factors that you have, like protecting your wealth, your income earning potential, making sure you're diversified and have a strategy for asset distribution, and ultimately your plan for leaving a legacy and keeping a long-term perspective. Now here's my information. I will go ahead and pass it on over to Kirk.
Great.
Let me see.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very helpful. So now what we will do is open this up for any Q&A. If you have any questions for either Rose or myself, feel free to input it in the Q&A channel, and we'll wait for a few minutes to see if there's any questions that we can answer for you. Again, if you have a question answer after this webinar, feel free to reach out to either Rose or myself, depending on what it is. Rose, I guess my one question to you, what is the biggest question that you get since this COVID crisis has occurred?
That's actually, yes. So I would say the most common question that I get is, what can people do even in a time where finances aren't secure to protect their family, right? So even with a reduced income or loss of jobs, people are worried about life insurance. They're worried about insurability. You know, what would happen to their family if they caught the virus and potentially passed away? That's the biggest question that I'm getting, as far as on a personal level, at least.
Great. Gonna wait for another minute here. But again, if you have any other questions or concerns, we will both be here afterwards. And I know with Rose, we want to be resources. We want to make sure that what you have now, whether it's an IT person, a technology firm, an insurance agent, a financial person, that you can ask the right questions of them to make sure you are covered. And that's the most thing that we can do for you as businesses go. We both want to make sure that everyone comes back from this crisis stronger than ever. We all win with as many people that come back to work and as many companies come back from this as possible. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. So I am going to say thank you again to Rose from New York Life working with me on this, and appreciate everyone's time that participated or joined this webinar, and hope that you have a good Friday and a good weekend.